Funky fantasy. The bowl. Stratozeros. Special guest edition. It's the War of Nerds. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the War of Nerds podcast. Your bearded, nerdy hosts are back to give you all the wonderful radio updates of nerddom. I'm Nathan Helm, the Funky Fantasy Man.
I'm Alfred Muller.
And I'm Ryan Morgan, also known as Stratoceros.
And tonight, we have a special guest, Mr. Jay Reese. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you write, and if you want to hold up a book or anything like that? The floor is yours.
Oh, absolutely. As you said, my name is Jay Reese. I'm the author of Legacy, a Scion book series. The sequel should be out come July. And I'm just a guy who used to read to his kids and didn't see our lives reflected in what we were reading and decided to write his own story. And now I just can't stop writing stuff. That's essentially the story. Outside of that, I am a little envious that everybody has beards, and I literally just cut mine off yesterday. I'm a little mad. I'm a little mad I didn't come in here rocking a beard with you guys.
We'll have to edit it in post.
That works.
Yeah.
One of those TikTok filters.
We'll just give him a Gandalf-esque meme beard. And just
I like that. I like
there.
that. Just
You shall not take the beard.
I love it.
So, Jay, what genre do you write, man? And do you write more than one, or do you have one that's your favorite?
Fantasy is definitely my favorite to write. I feel like I get to play more in fantasy. However, I am dabbling into other genres such as thrillers, a little horror, a little romance, just because that's like the hot topic right now. So I'm trying my hand on a bunch of different things. Nothing that I'm ready to share yet. Trust me, it's still in very rough stages. But I'm dabbling in a lot of different things. I don't want to pigeon myself home and say, oh, I'm only a fantasy writer, unless that works for you. But for me, I want to tickle all the parts, so to speak.
Absolutely.
100%. The usually the first question that we ask, or one of the first questions, is
Okay.
What is your process for creating your world, your characters, and just all your fun stuff in your books? Do you have a very like methodical way to it? Are you pantser plotter? Like, how do you go through all that stuff?
Wow, man, we getting right into it. We're going deep. Okay. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Man, what is my process? So I don't have a process. I can't even tell you that. I can't even lie. I don't have a process. What I will say, though, is that I tend to be more of an adventure writer or an explorer writer, pantser for people who know the terms. So a lot of times I will write an outline, and then when I start writing the story, completely throw that away and never look at it ever again. I keep debating about releasing an edition of my book that has like the original outline and how the story ended up, just so people can see the difference. Because I don't pay attention to any of that stuff. I just do it to get it out of my head, and then I write. I let the characters tell me where the stories are going. What I will say though, my process is I always have to have a candle burning. I don't know why. I love peppermint, but I don't always use peppermint. Like right now, I'm almost finished doing Martha Stewart's lemon. It smells good. So I burn that. I usually have some type of instrumental music playing. It depends on the scene that I'm writing. Like if it's a fight scene, it tends to be more, epic kind of sounding. If I'm writing something a little more sinister, quiet, subdued, just depends. But as far as process, I've tried writing different scenes to do it, because I know several authors will just write a scene, and then once they have all the scenes, they write the story. I'm more of a from A to Z kind of person. Like I start at the beginning and then I write it all the way through. Like I don't skip. Like I might write a note down, say, oh, at this part I want to do this, but I tend to A to B, and that's essentially my process.
Awesome. I gotta
If
ask,
that makes sense.
is the candle for just your personal like aroma, or is it for like ambiance for a scene as well?
I think it's just more for me. It just helps me get into that writer mentality. Just puts me in comfort. Um, the peppermint tends to be very relaxing when I
Mhm.
use that. The lemon, I'm finding has kind of amped me up a little bit for some reason. I don't know why. So a lot of times when I'm writing with the lemon going, the scenes tend to be a little bit more aggressive for some reason. I don't know why. Um, but that's just the way it's working out. So I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of mine. Like I don't know. Just I think it's more for me.
Awesome.
I like
I-
that because you kind of went into depth there with like setting yourself up to get in the writing mind, and a lot of the people we've interviewed kind of go straight into the, oh, it's either pantsing or plotting, and they kind of stick just solely with that part. But it's cool that you set this whole like ambiance before you get going.
Oh yeah, thank you. I appreciate that because yeah, like so I have an 18 and a 16-year-old. By now they know my process. When it's time for daddy to write, don't bother daddy. So like, but yeah, like when I'm about to write, I light the candle, I throw my music on, I'll leave. I'll go do something else that has nothing to do with writing. And then I don't know, anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes later, I come back down into my area and it just kind of just goes from there.
That's awesome. So you kind of brought up that your kids and telling stories to them kind of got you into writing, but
Yeah.
how long have you been doing it for?
I feel like I've been writing all my life. So technically, when I was a kid, when I was younger, I used to write to the ladies. I used to take song lyrics off the radio and mesh them all together and then present them to the lady I was trying to court. I guess I underestimated how smart women are because they would often be like, you got this from blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but I thought of you when I did it. And that kind of thing. Um, so that was my initial thing. And then once I realized that really wasn't working, I tried to write poetry myself. Thank God this is not the when I grew up, it was not the digital age because all those writings are gone. So it was horrible. So about my late senior year in high school, I had a creative writing teacher and I started writing stories. A lot of those stories I actually still have. And funny enough, one of those stories is the first chapter ish of Legacy. Like, so anybody who has stories out there, don't throw your stories away. So
Mhm.
there's a scene in Legacy where Zalani, the main character, he is he finds himself in like these post-apocalyptic, ruined urban cityscape. Um, that scene came from a short story of a man walking alone in the rain who goes into a dilapidated building. AJ, I believe, has read the first one, so he knows what I'm talking about. I believe. So that if I hadn't read that story, if I had not wrote that story way back when, I don't know what the first part of Legacy would have been. So yeah, I feel like I've been writing forever. It just wasn't until after when my kids were little and I was reading to them and I was getting frustrated not seeing what we wanted to see in stories,
Mhm.
I started to write. And that was officially about mm, 8 years ago. Officially, I think I started like in 2015.
Awesome.
Cool.
I love that. If you don't mind, could you go into a little bit more about what you weren't seeing in the books you were reading to your children and what you try and bring into your stories?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So a lot of times that I would read to my stories. So my children are biracial. We weren't seeing any interracial relationships in stories. And a lot of the parents we saw in the stories we were reading, the parents were not very bright, or they would let the children get away with any type of behavior. Um, I'm a firm believer that you should have fun with your kids. I'm a firm believer that we are supposed to unfold our kids, not mold them. And a
Mhm.
lot of the stories we were seeing, it was trying to convince the children to be a certain way. You have to put your clothes on. You have, well, yeah, everybody put your clothes on, but you have to like, you have to wear like a certain outfit. Like you can't go out the house wearing mismatched socks or a stupid shirt. Like there are so many things that we were like, we don't want our kids to be this way. We want our kids to express themselves, and we want our kids to become who they want to become, while also understanding that you have to respect authority and you have to respect your parents. So I set out to write a story like that. We all love, my family, we're huge geeks, we're huge nerds. We love Marvel, we love DC, Star Wars, Star Trek, Galactica. We love it all. So I just set out to write a story that could be in that realm that fit us.
Awesome.
Absolutely. And not to take it back to what you were talking about earlier, but you had said you smell candles when you're writing, and
Yeah.
you listen to music, which was going to be a question I asked later on. But for your music, do you listen to music with lyrics, or do you listen to more like orchestral soundtracks, video games, anime soundtracks? And do you have a certain color that you have the lights on in the room? Like, are they dimmed and like a hue of a certain color just to put you in an ambiance, or, you know?
Preferably I like sunlight. If I can write with the window open or even outside somewhere, I prefer that. So I don't really play with my lights. Maybe I should try that. That's a good idea. Maybe I should try different colors. But as far as the music is concerned, I can't write with lyrics. I get distracted. I will start singing. I will start dancing. I will be somewhere completely different. So I have to do only instrumental stuff. Now, as far as the instrumental stuff, it honestly just depends on the scene that I'm writing. Sometimes it can be orchestrative. Sometimes it could be based off a video game. Sometimes it could be lo-fi music based on some genre. It just has to be instrumental for the most part.
I do challenge you though. I didn't have this idea until I'm staying with a friend of mine the last couple days, and he's able to tell his phone to change the lights in the room to whatever color he wants. Aqua, indigo, neon, black lights, whatever. And I was working on my book before bed, and I told him, I'm like, hey, will you turn those to dark purple? Because I was writing an action scene. He changed it to dark purple because that was the ambiance of the scene, and it completely brought me into it. So I challenged you to play around with your lights in the room, or anybody really, to set the mood. Because lights, when they hit your eyes and your corneas, they affect different neural pathways in your brain, which affect different moods and different feelings. So therefore, different colors correlate to different emotions. And so if you're writing a certain scene, lights can have a big impact on that. That's why sunlight makes you happy. Vitamin D, it's bright, it's happy.
Yeah.
So same thing correlates to other colors.
Okay, I'm definitely got to try that. I mean, first of all, I'm got to turn my dumb house into a smart house so I can do this. But I definitely will have to invest in something so I can change the lights into different colors. I like that though. Thank you for that.
It's super simple. You just have to go to the store. There's special lights you have to get that are Bluetooth enabled, basically, and you just get an app on your phone. So that's all you do is screw the new lights in, and then you just get the app on your phone, and hey, Google, change the lights to yellow, and boom.
I love simple.
Yellow.
Okay.
So no, that kind of went off of the rails a little bit, but
no, it's good. I loved it. Yeah.
My next question for you is my favorite question to ask, and
okay,
what's the most embarrassing moment of your writing career?
First, I thought you were going to say most embarrassing moment of my life, but of my writing writing career. Have to think about that. Writing career. My most embarrassing moment of my writing career. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if it's the most embarrassing, but this one definitely had egg on my face. So I was at a book signing, and I had several families come up, and as authors, we all have a spiel that we say when people come up. And this one family came up, and I go into my spiel, and the mother, she's looking at me and she's engaged with me and she's talking to me about the book. And I have a tendency to gear towards the children because even though adults love my book, children really like it once they get into it. So I'm talking to the child saying, hey, what do you like? What kind of heroes do you like? Thinking that she'll say something that might be in my book. So the child looks at me and she says nothing. And I'm like, oh, okay. So then the mother looking at me, she's like, oh, well, she really likes Spider-Man. So I'm like, oh, you love Spider-Man? My son really loved Spider-Man too. Like, and I started talking about Miles, Peter. I started going off and on. The girl face, she lights up, but she still's not saying anything. And I'm like, I was looking like, why is she talking? So then the mother's looking at me and she's like, well, she's autistic. She doesn't like to really talk to people. She doesn't really engage that way. And I'm like, oh, okay. Now I get it. Now I get it. The lights are clicking. So I'm like, oh, okay. Is there anything I can do to engage with her differently? She said, no, you're doing fine. Like, okay, sure. So then at this point, we're talking, and I'm telling her all about the different characters, the different power sets that are abilities that are in the book. And the girl, she looks at me and she's like, can anybody shoot webs? And my heart sank, and I'm like, no. Well, when they can shoot webs, let me know. And the little girl walks off. And the mom's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And she walks off, and I'm like,
Dang.
okay. I'm sorry, my bad. I'm sorry. I don't know what to do now. Okay.
Even the
But
most
luckily,
simplest way, kids are ruthless.
right? Oh my God. Yes, by far. Luckily they did come back later, and the mother purchased a copy because she liked how my rapport was with her child. And the lady even messaged me on Facebook, said she read it to her and she enjoyed it. And she had to add that in the next book, please put someone in there with spider powers. And I said, I will try my best. Unfortunately, that was not able. Like the story that I told for the second one, there is nobody with spider powers. So if you're looking for spider heroes, I'm sorry, it's not there yet. I'm working on it. It's not there. But
I
yeah,
got you.
you got me. All right.
Simple fix. You tell them you have a character that can shoot magical strings that look like spider webs.
Oh,
And
okay, that works.
I don't know.
That might work.
So
Good.
with the superheroes, and then you touched
Uh-huh.
on that opening scene being based on that crumbling building that they're going into, the urban landscape. Is
Yeah.
it fantasy only, or is it more like an urban fantasy, modern times type story?
That is a hard question.
So fall somewhere in between. That's okay.
Well,
I mean,
because the reason why I say it that way is because it is a fantasy. Like I think of my book as strictly fantasy. However, it is set in a time hundreds of years after the last World War. The society has rebuilt and is a new society now. So it's still Earth. It's somewhere off in the future. We have rebuilt. So it's not urban, but there are parts of the book that are in a city, but it's all fantasy for me.
For me,
very cool.
I do get some sci-fi vibes to it, but that could just be the futuristic. But I could definitely see it's almost like Batman Beyond, or
Ooh, I like that.
where Batman's in the future, and those kinds. So you get a little bit of technology, but it's still a Batman story. I could easily see there's a lot of fantasy elements, and I wouldn't go as far as to say it's not like Star Wars where you have a real mesh between sci-fi and fantasy. If I had to, I'd say it's more fantasy than sci-fi. But that's as a reader, that was what I took from it. So I could easily see.
I can agree with that.
fantasy
Yeah.
Just call it a futuristic fantasy.
There you go.
That's a thing.
Hey.
So
I think
yeah.
most of the writers that we've had on here have had some elements of multiple genres that they combined, ourselves included.
Well, I feel like a lot of the authors that I'm becoming friends with and even have the privilege of speaking to, I feel like we're at a time where books aren't just one genre. Like even if we say like, oh, this is just fantasy, this is just horror, you're gonna find elements from other, because we're influenced by like everything. Well, I don't think we're at a point where we are consciously focused on just writing one type of story anymore. Mostly because most stories have, well, not all stories have been told. We're just trying to find a new way of telling them.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. I think that has to do with people's attention spans too. Is that when you see something that reminds you of the same old song and dance, you're just like, I've already seen Dragons. I've already seen Peter Pan. I've already seen all this other stuff. Give me something similar, but with a twist.
Absolutely.
In your background there, Jay, is that a poster of anime or video games? It's hard for me to see. It's in the background, but
So I'm sorry. So this poster is a poster that I got a friend from Facebook, and he wants to remain anonymous because he works for Marvel, and he wasn't supposed to draw this because it has Marvel and DC characters on it, and I guess Marvel frowns upon that. My words, not his. But this has all people of color on it. Not that I'm against anybody else, but I just thought this was so cool to have them all in one place. Unfortunately, I couldn't put all my other artwork up in time for this. But yeah, I just love pieces like this. My family and I, every time we go to Comic Cons, we try to find artist panels so we can buy like different One Piece arts from different artists and stuff. But yeah, I just love this piece. Actually, here, I'll take it off the wall to show.
Yeah, please. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I was wondering what it was too, because it looked cool even from afar.
I'm trying to get the glare off of it.
Oh man.
Oh, you got Bishop in there too. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, and his eye for detail and the characters. There's 4 characters that I don't know who they are, but everybody else, like Bishop, Blade, John Stewart, Ironheart, like War Machine,
Wally
like
West.
Wally, Nubia, Steel, like just Spawn, like it's so many. I would try to put that back on the wall, but I can tell you now, I won't be able to do it.
It's okay.
Only one you're missing, man. You need Blade on there.
Oh, Blade was on there.
Yeah, he's on there.
Well, okay.
That's the version of Green Lantern that I grew up with the
Justice
animated
League
cartoon and everything. Yep. And I love that version. One of my favorites. Is Static Shock on there?
Yeah, Static Shock was on there. We're Static. I promise you, Static's on here. And not. It's like when you look for somebody, you can't find him. There he is.
Yep, there he is. Definitely top 5 superhero.
And I'm like
DC.
I'm like, people at DC, if you ever see this, please stop playing with us and give us a Static Shock movie. I don't know why y'all playing that and Batman Beyond. Please do it. Please do it. And I'm sorry, I'm sidetracked.
They never will. It's TV.
They never will.
Their TV shows are great. Their movies are atrocious. So,
TV show.
old school comic book issue number 1, Hawkman and Hawkgirl, and gold plated comic book still sealed away. So I won't take that one out.
Oh, don't. Oh man.
No. And the 1986 Spider-Man v Venom, which is one of my favorites as well. So
okay, nice.
But back to you.
I'm gonna jump around a little bit. I was gonna jump around a little bit because Jay, you had mentioned cons. How many have you gone to as a fan? Because I mean, I know that you've gone to several as an author as well, but how many have you gone to as a fan? I know you look for artwork there, but what's some of your favorite parts of going to conferences?
I've lost count at this point. I don't know how many I've been to just as a fan, but my favorite part has got to be the panels. I think a lot of people underestimate actually going to it, and I'm not talking about the really big ones of fandom, because trust me, like I've been to the Walking Dead panels, I've been to Adam West, like the big ones, they're great. I'm not saying like don't go to those, but I think people underestimate the little ones. Like they're at New York Comic Con, every year they do a charity event. It's a charity to raise money for leukemia, and they raise money for St. Jude's. And not every artist, but a lot of the artists that are at Comic-Con, they draw a specialty portrait or a picture of whatever character they want, and they auction it off at the charity event. I've got some of the coolest pieces. I wish I had it right now. I'll have to show you one day, AJ, and you guys.
Mhm.
but I have some of the coolest pieces. And then on the other hand, some of the coolest pieces have got out my hand because somebody overbid me. But like that, I go for that. Then the fact of like Jason David Frank, rest his soul. I used to go to his panel every year because he was one of the coolest, most energetic people. He would stay for hours talking to fans after his panel, before his panel, during, like he was just a cool dude. Then the fact of a lot of side panels, like people don't realize, like a lot of the voice actors or even like side characters who might not be the star of a show have panels, and their panels sometimes aren't the fullest, so you get to interact with a one-on-one personable experience. Like I don't know if any of you have ever read the books uh not Magic. Oh, what was that show called? Because they had a show too. It was like a grown-up Harry Potter. I forget what the show was called, but like they have a panel, and because it wasn't that popular, room wasn't always filled out. But I always loved stuff like that because you get to actually have that genuine connection with someone that you're getting to see do and portray the characters that you love. And it was an awesome. That, in fact, with my family, just being there with them, seeing like my son hates when I tell this story, but I'm gonna tell it because it's a funny story. So my son was like 2 at the time. And usually my family and I, we always dressed up on Sundays, which is usually family kid day. We were happened to be the Bat family that year because I love Batman, and my son got to be Batman, and I don't remember who I was, but he was Batman. So we're walking around, and at Comic Cons, there's all these different cosplayers, right? So we're walking around, and my son, like again, he's only like 2, maybe 3, but like he's little, so he can't see like above. He's just kind of walking and shuffling, and he's in front of us, and then like we're standing looking at all of the voice actors doing their thing in the lines, and I happen to notice there's a cosplayer dressed as Batman behind us, like 1989 Batman, full. You'd have thought it was like rubber suit, everything. Like he looked like I was about to say Adam West, Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
He looked like Michael Keaton. I get my son and I kind of like nudge and turn him around. My son looks at the boots, pans up, and mouth just drops. Like he's looking at Batman. To this day, this is one of my favorite moments. Like my wife has a picture of it somewhere. It's just moments like that I love. Like I have moments like that with my daughter and my wife. It's just good times. Like cons are just awesome and special to me. I've had some bad experiences, but overall I just love cons. Cons are cool.
I love that. That's awesome.
100%. Now, Jay, I need to know a name of a hero in your book and a villain. Can be the villain or a villain, the hero or a hero. Just give me one and one.
Okay. Well, I gotta go. I gotta go for Zolani and Zayden. Gotta go for them.
Lonnie and Zayden. Okay. So which one's the villain? Which one's the hero?
Zolani is the hero. Zayden is the villain.
Okay. So Zolani and Zayden are there's this portal, like a Narnia-esque portal that you can't see, and they both get pushed through it and they lose their memory. They end up on a random island, large island, plenty of resources, food, and all that stuff. And throughout the time there, their memories are going to slowly come back to them. But what I want to know is, up until that point, are those two characters going to mesh with each other? Are they going to get along and maybe be aligned? And when they get their memories back, forget about their past transgressions and move forward as allies? Or are they still, is their subconscious going to push through and still make them bite at each other's ankles? Maybe not as viciously, but still. And then when they get their memories back, it's just like, I was waiting for you. Give it your best shot.
Wow. So, wow.
I'm very interested to hear the answer.
I know you are. So again, AJ has read. He was nice enough to read the first book and book, so he knows these characters that I'm speaking of. So I feel that if they went through a portal together and both lost their memory, I feel that Zolani would do the right thing. Like, he would be a team player. He'd be like, oh, let's do what we got to do. Let's work together. And I feel even as he's gaining his men back, he would be trustful and say, you know what? The past was the past. Let's keep moving forward. Zayden, on the other hand, I think at first when he loses his memory, yeah, he's going to play nice and he'll do whatever he needs to do to survive because he needs to survive. But as his memory starts coming back, he's going to become more sinister. He's going to try to figure out a way to not only better his situation and get off the island, but probably kill Zolani. And then Zolani has to figure that out.
That's a really good answer.
Yeah.
Is that close to the truth, JJ? Is that close?
Absolutely. 100%.
I like it. It's one of my favorite new questions to ask people.
I mean, now I like that. Now I want to write that as a subplot somewhere. Like, I don't know how, but I want to write that.
Copyright free. Hey, go for
Just
it.
make it a little side novella that you give away.
Right? Oh my god. Oh, what if spinoff? Oh my god, yeah. There we go.
There you go. Just like Ultron coming up and cutting Thanos in half like it was a joke.
Right?
So touching back on those cons, I know you talked about the panels being your favorite part. So if you could participate on a panel with you being included, what would be your dream panel of people up there with you?
My dream people, dead or alive?
Yeah, dead or alive,
okay,
whoever you want on that panel with you.
Okay, so if I had my dream panel and I'm up there speaking with, I would have Stan Lee. I would have Dwayne McDuffie. I would have Jason David Frank. I would also have I'm trying to think. And I would have Brian Sanderson and Neil Gaiman. And we will be discussing my writing, or not my writing, but like our writing a Power Ranger slash trying to think, Good Omens slash another work that I'm working on in the background mashup, and how we brought that to life.
That's awesome.
That sounds amazing.
That would be my dream panel.
I love it.
It's a great answer. I don't even know if I could answer that myself, to be honest, but that was way to pull that out.
Yeah, I would watch. I would pay money to see that. Absolutely.
Tell me about it.
I do want to say, for those who don't know, and maybe for younger viewers, Jason David Frank is the original White Ranger, the original Green Ranger. He came back as the Red Ranger for Zeo and Turbo, and then he came back as the Black Ranger for Dino Thunder. He's the iconic Power Ranger, everyone's favorite, and I'm glad to hear an amazing guy, because I saw him on social media before he passed away and everything, and he just seemed like a really cool guy. But yeah, absolutely iconic.
I've been privileged enough to meet a lot of celebrities, and Jason David Frank was one of the few that was exactly how he portrayed. Like, everything you see videos of him is how he was in person. And I can tell you now, like, there was times where I was with him for hours, and I mean, not just me, but like, it was us, and he was that person. Like, because there's times where people break character or something will happen where their true self shows. Nah, he was always that guy. From the moment he came in, from the moment he was out our side, he was always that dude. And he would always tell the best stories about Power Rangers. And he had a sense of humor. Like, dude, R.I.P. For real.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mighty Morphin Go Power Rangers.
Right?
Such a cool intro song.
Oh my god.
Just saying.
Power Rangers, his theme songs, like, I can go on and on about Power Rangers. I love Power Rangers.
We'll definitely have to have you for Power Rangers episode.
Yeah.
I hadn't even
Absolutely.
thought about that, but that would definitely be a good episode.
Yeah, but
Oh,
that
please bring
Yeah.
it back. Please bring
we
it
will
back.
put it in the books. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Shoot, we need to do a Transformers episode too.
Yeah, at some point.
Yeah.
Oh, y'all
So
talk.
now-
Y'all speak my language. I'll be a recurring guest for this. Yo,
Absolutely.
So you said that you set up the music and the light the candle for your writing area, and then you'll go do
Yeah.
something that isn't writing related.
Mhm.
Is that something that you well, basically what I want to ask is, do you ever get writer's block? And is that kind of like a ritual to try and prevent writer's block?
Well, I used to get writer's block. I don't get writer's block anymore. But that ritual isn't to stop writer's block. How do I say this? So, I watched a clip of Stephen King giving a lecture to some college. I couldn't tell you what college it was, but he gave a lecture and he was simply saying the first time you write your words down, it's you telling the story to yourself. So it doesn't matter what's there. Like you could write whatever. You're just telling the story to yourself. Doesn't matter how good, doesn't matter how bad. Just write the story. You're telling it to yourself. And then every time you go back, you're polishing it more and more and more to tell it to other people. So once I heard that, for me, that helped me get rid of writer's block. So now I don't worry about how good it needs to be, how bad it might be, because trust me, my first drafts, nobody wants to see my first drafts. But I just write whatever's there. So I mean, don't get me wrong, like there are moments where I have to pause and think about what I want to say or what I'm trying to say. But essentially looking at the cursor and not being able to write, it's been a very long time since I've had that issue.
I love that. I've seen that same video, and when Stephen King explained that. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Stephen King's writings, but I loved when he
Right.
talked about that
Right.
because it's
Mhm.
like, okay, all right, I'm telling it to myself, right? Because first
Yeah.
and foremost, you're writing for yourself and nobody
Yeah.
else.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, if you're brave enough and you're willing enough and you share it with other
Yeah.
people, got to grow a little bit of a thick skin and then you polish it up. But I
Absolutely.
want to dive back deep,
Okay.
all the way back to the past for Mr. J. Reese as a child.
Okay.
Now, sorry, the British accent's
Mhm.
done. But
It's all good.
did you always think you were going to be a writer? Is that something that you always knew?
Oh no.
And what were some books and authors that you enjoyed reading when you were younger?
Oh, so when I was younger, I really thought I was going to be a celebrity. I didn't know if I wanted to be a singer or an actor. I really thought I was going to go out there and be Will Smith's like sidekick on the next Bad Boys movie. I really thought I was going to be that dude. Um, and as I was growing up and becoming into adulthood, I tried to live that life. I went that route. It could be a story for a different day, but I lived that life. That's another reason why I've met so many celebrities in my life. But no, I did not think I was going to be an author. It wasn't until I reflected after certain situations in my life that I realized that how much I enjoyed writing when I was a child. That I was like, you know what, let me go ahead and give this a chance because I want to give something to my kids and reflect on, have something that we can see ourselves in. Growing up, I have no lies to tell you guys. I did not like reading. I did not want to read. There were so many people in my life that were like, yo, just read a book. I would look at it. If I had a reading assignment, what was it, Spark Notes? If I could find anybody to tell me what it was, I would do everything I could to avoid reading. I just wasn't reading. It wasn't until I started getting into adulthood and learning how important it is for us to read and how enjoyable it is that I started love reading. So now a lot of my counterparts are like, "Oh, did you read such and such?" No, I'm reading it now though. Like so, but I didn't read it as reading now as an adult.
Yeah.
When the time permits, because we're adults, you know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, present day. Do you have a favorite book or author that you enjoy?
Uh, favorite book and favorite author. I don't have a favorite author yet, but my favorite book is The Four Agreements by Paulo Cello, I think his name is. I don't have it down here. It's upstairs.
Sounds familiar.
Honestly, I tend to read more self-help books. I do read fantasy and I do read other books just for enjoyment, but I tend to read a lot of self-help books.
Nice.
But I don't know if you all have heard of the Four Agreements or your audience have heard of the Four Agreements, but it's just a book that kind of helps you understand why you make the choices you make, and the choices that you do make, are you making them because you want to make them, or are you making them because it's something your daddy and your mama and your grandma made you, or
Yeah.
made you. So it's that kind of a book, and so that's one of the reasons why it's my favorite book.
That sounds really
Awesome.
interesting, actually. I've not heard of it before, but I'm gonna have to check that out.
The Four Agreements.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I
me
think
and
that. Sorry, I was just going to say that I think that nonfiction books can be just as helpful for authors as fiction books,
Yeah.
for a variety of reasons.
Mhm.
Biographies and stuff like that could help develop characters. One of my favorites is William, The Greatest Knight That Ever Lived, about William Marshall, a knight
Oh wow.
during the not the Rose War that Martin draws a lot of inspiration over, but it might have been the but he was instrumental in that entire um,
Mhm.
wartime. So absolutely, nonfiction books are just as helpful as fiction.
Yeah.
And I
Agreed.
know me and Alfred both
Mhm.
weren't big readers when we were kids either. And for me, it was always scanning that book for like the very base idea of what it was so I could pass the
Right.
tests in school.
Mhm.
But
Exactly.
no, for me, every time I tried to read one of those books back then, like if it didn't catch me, it was me more like I want to change the story. Like I want it to go this direction.
Yeah.
So, and which I couldn't finish it if I had that in my mind. So,
Actually, you just made me remember. There was a book that I read when I was a kid, but it was a choose your adventure book. So the
Ooh.
story wasn't that long, and I got to choose which way I could go. It was about Perseus and his adventures killing Medusa and all that stuff. I forget what the
I
book was even
remember that
called,
book.
but I used to love that book, and I could never finish the story the way I always wanted to. Like I never ended up finishing the book. Yeah.
So you were talking about your childhood and stuff like that, and you're releasing your second book, but where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Are you looking to plan and build off of those books? Are you gonna build or write a new
Mhm.
story?
So within the next 5 years, I'm going ahead and proclaim it right now because I don't have a plan, but I'm gonna go proclaim it. So in the next 5 years, I will have book 1, 2, and 3 done in the Scion series. I will have at least 3 to 4 other books in various other series. My plan is after I finish this series is to standalones. I'll write in that universe more, but I don't want to do a series again, at least for not for a little bit. So just do standalones. And within the next 5 years, my plan is to at the very least have some type of either other format for my books, whether graphic novels, television, TV, or television is TV, movies, or just some other way people can enjoy my novels.
Excellent.
He just brought us to our next question.
Yeah, I was
If
gonna say it's a
your
great
book was going to,
transition.
isn't it
I'm a
though?
good seguer. I'm very good. Very good.
It's actually funny too because so the three of us lately have been trying to pioneer anime lit, which is anime inspired
Okay.
literature. Which,
Oh,
if I could have, I've been actually looking for manga artists to get my
yeah,
first book split up into manga chapters. But that's besides the
yeah.
point because I want to know for you, if
Uh-huh.
you could have your book turned into a
Okay.
movie or a TV show, would it be live action or animated, and what would it look like?
Oh, wow. Okay. And you know what's funny though? Like I've often because like everybody always talks about live action. And don't get me wrong, if some big producer came to me like, "Oh, we want to turn your book into a movie," I'm not gonna say no. I'm like, "Oh, let me hear you out. What's your deal?" But like, if I can actually think about it, I really feel anime would be the way to go. I really do. You could just do more with animation than you can with live action. Not because live action isn't great. You can just do so much more creatively with the animation. So if I had to pick any style, this might sound, but and it might be because it's on my mind and I'm so in love with it right now. I would have to pick, and I know this isn't technically anime, but I would style of how they're drawing X-Men 97 right now. That is how I want that done.
Cool. Classic.
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
so I have not seen X-Men 97 yet,
No
but
spoils for me. No spoilers.
that's fine. My friend is begging me to go watch it right now because we both grew up watching the original cartoon, and like he's a huge Magneto fan, but like he is
Yeah.
telling me I'm missing out that it's that good. So
Dude, all I can say is like, yes, if you grew up with the original and you like the original, they're doing it so much justice and adding. Oh, they're giving us so much. And again, I'm trying my best. It's on the tip of my tongue. I don't want to give any spoilers.
It's the same way with him. So yeah, it's on my list, and I'm gonna start it probably tonight because this is my sign. That's twice
Yeah.
now.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'll have to pick it up.
Mhm.
Start it as well.
Mm-mm. Oh man.
Got into that.
Like, yo. And see,
Oh,
I was so worried because y'all know there's so many remakes of our childhood and stuff going on, and all of them don't hit like they need to hit. This one, oh man, I don't know what they did, but they were cooking with that sauce because they lit it up. I don't know what they know.
That's
Hit it,
excellent.
Alfred.
So let's go with have you ever co-written a book, or would you want to? And if you would you have a author that you'd like to write with, or a famous living or dead author you'd like to write with?
So I've been like a collaborator on books, but I haven't co-written a book. I wouldn't be against the idea. I don't think it would be one of my. I don't think I would initiate it. Like I feel like a friend or someone that I've known for a while, someone that I'm really close to, would have to be like, "Hey, yo, we have this idea. Let's write this together," kind of thing. And the reason why I say that is because when you make a book, with somebody, it's forever, right? That money, that bond is there, regardless of the relationship, whatever happens, it's there. So I would have to make sure that I'm really cool with that person, and I have to know them. I'm not gonna say inside and out, but I would have to know how they are from a business standpoint to write a book with somebody. Because once you do that, people, when they want to write a book, they don't think about the business side. I would have to know how somebody is on the business end of writing a
I
book.
love that. That's a very practical and down to earth answer that we haven't had. Most people just we're like, oh, I don't know what topic we'd write about, but I want to do this, this, and this. But you're right. I mean, it's almost like having a child with someone. You are stuck with that person forever in ink, and have to decide how you would split up any money that comes in, any potential deal that would come forward, regardless of what happens to the relationship.
Yeah, because even if you have a falling out with this person, and this person is like, you know what, I'm done with the book. I don't even want royalties. You take it all. Great, because you think that's perfect. But then, as you're alluding to, AJ, say someone says, "Yo, no, I want to come around with a movie deal." You got to bring the original person back and talk about the movie deal. So it's to make sure who you're getting in bed with, so to speak.
Absolutely.
100%.
Without a doubt.
Now, Mr. J, what was the toughest individual scene or part of a chapter that you had to write in your published or even your non-published books?
So my toughest scene to write in Legacy, a Scion book series, there is a scene where Zolani is talking to his father. That scene to me was a very hard scene to write. I have a very good relationship with my father now. Growing up, we did not have a good relationship for various different reasons, and I don't want to tell his business without him being here to defend himself. Sure. But from my standpoint, I wasn't in agreement with a lot of the ways I was brought up. So in my book, I addressed a lot of that. But me and my father had talked about it previously to me writing it. So as I was writing it, I spoke to him about various different things. But writing it, it was hard for me because I think a lot of it I hadn't processed emotionally yet. So that was the hardest part for me to write.
That's
So
a
you
nice answer.
you talk a lot about your life experience and a lot of the things that go on for you and your family, and it seems to feed into your book a lot is
Yeah.
the stuff with your choice to go into acting and stuff like that and that realm. Does all of that experience kind of come out through your book, or is that something that you like to intertwine those lessons that you've personally left?
All right, so for yeah, I've had to use a lot of different things throughout my life, but I've always heard that you have to tell the truth, you have to say what you know, you have to write what you know. And even from an acting standpoint, there isn't any good, great actor that I've known or come across that didn't use what they knew from inside to react off of the other actors. I mean, granted, hopefully there aren't any serial killer actors out there, but whatever emotion that is that they use, it came from a real place to get to that place. Same thing with my writing. Like, yes, it's a fantasy world. They have abilities that us as people can't do currently, but the story in itself is from lessons that I've gone through in my life, truths that I know to be true, and just things that I think will help people along the way with a lot of family drama, essentially. So yeah, I tend to write what I know. I would never try to write an experience that I have no clue about. It would only be things that I've experienced or someone close to me is telling me like, hey, this is my experience from this.
Cool.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, who is the hardest character you've ever had to write, and who is your favorite character to write?
My hardest character and my favorite character. Well, my favorite character to write is a character named Miss Lupita, again from my Scion series. She is my favorite to write just because she's fun, she's carefree, she allows people to be who they are, and she's just a real light, and she's just fun to write because you never know what she's going to say or what she's going to do. Um, there's a scene in the book that, how do I say this without giving away spoilers? There's a scene in the book where she gets into a fight, and up until that point, it's foreshadowed that she can fight, but you just don't know how good she can fight. And I remember my son reading the book for the first time, and he got to that part where she's fighting, and he runs upstairs, and he's like, "You didn't tell me she could do this." And I'm like, "What are you talking about, Miss Pizza? She's kicking and she's chopping and she's cutting." And I'm like, "Really? You like it? It's awesome." And he goes back down and says, "Read." I'm like, "Okay, I'll score one for Dad. All right, cool." So yeah, she's my fun because you just don't expect the things that happens to her, the things she does, and she's really fun to write. The hardest character that it has been for me to write, um, the hardest character that has been for me to write is probably, there's a character that is a work in progress right now. He is on a redemption arc. He's a character who was resurrected from hell. And now that he's seen what has happened in the afterlife, he's all about trying to redeem himself, to be good, and to atone for everything he's done. So, as I was saying earlier, everything that I write, I try to make it come from a real, true place. So that character is part of me. Like a lot of the things that he's gone through, a lot of things that he's trying to rectify are things that I feel that I might have done. Now, granted, like, yeah, I've dramatized it, I've changed names and certain things, But for me, it's my pain saying I'm sorry for something. And that's the hardest thing that I feel that I've had to write so far.
That's a great answer.
Absolutely.
And putting some more real hard truths sometimes for ourselves into our work. I can understand how that would be challenging because sometimes you can almost learn things about yourself that you didn't know while you're writing. So
yeah, I think writing is cathartic. Like it helps you release if you let it. Like it helps you release things that, like you're saying, like you might even know you were struggling with, and you're like, oh, okay, that's how I feel about that. All right, good to know.
absolutely.
I love when you write and your characters surprise you or do something, and even if it's like a happy surprise or a good surprise, and then like a sad or scary surprise,
Yeah.
either way, like when your characters surprise you, it just I feel like I've done a good job as a writer when my characters surprise me because I'm not dictating what they're doing at that point. In my
Yeah.
mind, they're real life people and they're acting and performing how they normally would, and that just makes it feel so real, especially in a scene or the plot or anything like that.
Agreed. Absolutely.
100%. Now, in 20 years from now, when Mr. J. Reese is old and gray and all the children are grown up and your books are on shelves all over the place and some random person picks it up, what do you want to be known for? What do you want somebody to remember you by from your writing, from your book, your brand, who you are?
I would want anyone to pick up my book today, tomorrow, 20 years from now, to pick up my book and feel that they can. And whether they can forgive themselves, they can forgive others, they can be who they want to be, they can achieve whatever they're trying to achieve. But I just want the people to feel that they can, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Oh, it does. Forgiveness is a huge thing in my book series about forgiving others and doing the right thing, even when you think doing the wrong thing matches somebody else doing the wrong thing. Yeah. So forgiveness is a powerful thing.
Absolutely.
How about you, Alfred, Ryan?
What does Jay like to do outside of writing? What is like a maybe not a regular day look like, but what do you do when you're not writing?
Well, don't judge me, but I like to play with Legos. I like to play with Legos.
That's a great answer.
I like to go to movies. Me and my family, we have a family game night. We love to do that. But yeah, of everything, usually play with Legos. I don't get to do that as much as I like to do it, but when I get a choice of just nobody around, I can just spend hours playing with Legos. That's my thing.
I just got my son into Legos and he loves it.
Jay, have you ever gotten bored with your Legos? Just a random box of just rando Legos, right? They're not in a box like saying, Star Wars X-Wing Style 40. No, it's just a random box of Legos. Have you ever taken them and made like a makeshift village or city or artifact from your books with those Legos, just as a free time project?
Oh, no, I haven't, but I will. I've never thought about that. Like, because like a lot of times, like, so what I do is like I'll usually buy, let's say with the X-Wing from Star Wars, I'll buy something like that, I'll build it, and then once I get bored with it, I'll destroy it. And then I will build whatever I can imagine. I've never taken the time to try to build the world that I create. Oh, that's good. I like that.
That is good.
I like that, yo.
This is what we do here on this podcast radio hour. Come up with new ideas to make the brain spin.
Love that, though. Oh my god.
So what you're gonna do,
I
Jay?
figure out where to put it now.
You're gonna take that music, you're gonna put it on, make that light ambient style, grab them Legos, and for only $9.99, you can get all the Legos you want.
You mean $100,000 later?
I know. I'm like, where are you buying Legos? Like, yo, you to give me that discount because I need that.
Yeah.
Oh man. But real talk, you about to get me in trouble with my wife, man. Like, I'm gonna do this and disappear for like a week.
You have the War of Nerd podcast admittance, so you have a free pass or a school hall pass. Whatever you want.
I will run that by the wife, and I will let you know how it goes if I don't die. I will let you know.
Sheila,
you
I'm
mentioned
sorry, I
movies.
don't want any part of this, but I approve.
Oh, AJ met my wife. You know AJ.
Yeah.
Now, on this podcast, we talk a lot about movies, actually,
Okay.
and TV shows. And you said that movies is, I think, for a lot of families, it is.
Yeah.
You know, dating back to the times where we used to go to the drive-in theaters for
Right.
$1.25,
Yeah.
but long time ago. But
oh yeah,
what is your favorite movie or trilogy, and what's your favorite TV show?
Okay. Movie or trilogy, or you want both?
Well, movie series, I should say. Sorry, because Harry Potter has 8 movies. So,
Okay.
Favorite movie series, favorite TV series.
Okay. So, I love The Last Dragon. That is my favorite movie, hands. Well, that's my comfort movie. Like anytime I'm feeling any kind of way, that's my go-to movie. My favorite trilogy, Back to the Future. I'll pop that on any given day, just any one of them. I don't care, or all of them. I will watch them. My favorite series, ooh. You know, it's hard because with a series, a lot of them don't stick the landing. A lot of them don't end the way you want them to end. And
That's fair.
And however, if I had to pick one series that's my favorite that I could watch anytime, oh, my favorite series. Wow, you know what? I don't think I have a favorite series like that I could just watch all the time. There's times like
All right.
mood, like if I'm in a mood, I could watch, but I don't think I have a favorite series. But I could be wrong.
TV show?
TV show. Well, right now it's X-Men 97. I can't listen to that. That's my favorite right
There you
now.
go.
I'm with that and Invincible. Those two got me locked Wednesday and Thursday. But my favorite series, or excuse me, not favorite series, but my favorite TV show. I'm a sucker for True Blood. True Blood.
Nice.
That was my favorite. I don't agree with every single season, but that was my show for a very long time.
Old school.
Yeah.
Love
Jay,
it.
I knew we were family. The Last Dragon is one of my favorite movies. I still get chills when I watch that end scene. Like that's
Yo, hey, AJ. I met Bruce Leroy.
no.
I have a signed picture with him. I met Bruce Leroy. He told me I got the glow, and he wrote it on the essay. Yes,
dude.
Are you ready?
I'll have to show.
Okay.
I have to show it to you sometime. What'd you say, Nathan?
I said, are you ready? Okay, let's do this. Leroy Jenkins. Sorry, I had to.
That is still one of my favorite clips. I love that clip.
Oh, man.
Oh man.
How about you, Ryan? You got another question, brother, since we're getting close to that time?
No, I'm tapped out. It's been fantastic for me. It's had some great
That's
answers.
I've got one more. You are like I said earlier, you've got great inspirational TikToks, and one of my favorite ones that you're running right now. You're at 83 days or 85 days of jumping rope.
Oh no, I'm just at 80. Today was
80.
the 80.
Yeah. Okay, I knew I saw it. So 80 days, taking off weekends. You've been out in the rain, in the sun, in the cold, in the warm, jumping rope. How did that start, or why did that start, and how have you found the motivation to keep that going?
Stubbornness. That's what that is. No.
I think you mean you're a writer. That's your answer right there.
Right. In all seriousness though, like so my son does martial arts, and I was taking him to class one day, and we were relatively early, and one of the instructors was jumping rope. And I was watching him jump rope, and he wasn't doing anything fancy. He wasn't trying to show off. He was just trying to get his cardio in. He was just jumping rope. And I was like, you know what? I never thought about it for doing it for exercise. So I went home and started doing it, which when I say I started doing it, it was like a month later. I got a rope and I started doing it. And at first I was just doing it just to see like if I could do it. And I could kind of like elementary school, just jumping up and down. And then I started, I don't know how I found tricks. Like, I guess it's just the algorithm knowing what you're looking at and what you're looking for. People who could do tricks with jump ropes started coming into my feed. So I was like, oh, I want to try to do that. And then I was like, oh, well, let me try. And the first thing I did was the boxer step, which I'm a huge Rocky and Creed fan. I love watching Muhammad Ali and boxing stuff. So I was like, oh, let me do the boxer step. And that felt like it took forever for me to learn for some strange reason. And once I got that, I just kept moving on to different tricks. And before I knew it, I'm at 80 days. So that's just pretty much it for the most part.
Awesome.
Then if I gotta have lovely people like you in the comment section telling me you're doing so great, keep going. So now it's at a point like, well, I can't stop now.
Yeah.
Oh, brother, that's fantastic, man. Like, I honestly struggle to be able to just put content out regularly because I'm so stinking tired. And I feel like some people on TikTok don't understand. They're just like, well, you need to put content out regularly or else. I'm like, why don't you try working 70 hours a week or else?
Well, okay. so let's go ahead and bust that myth right now. So I can tell you now, I'm at 40,000 people. Actually, maybe 42. Either way, numbers don't matter. You don't have to put content out regularly. I can tell you that now. You don't. I know plenty of people who are way higher than me, millions of people. They don't put content out regularly. You don't have to. That is just a myth. You have to put out quality content. That's what you have to put out. The algorithm will take wherever it needs to go. Quality content. Don't waste it, because like, trust me, I've been through it all. I've done you gotta post 5 times a day. You gotta post at 3 o'clock. You gotta post at 2 o'clock. You gotta make sure you post on lunch hours. Well, first of all, TikTok's all the world. Whose lunch are you posting? Like, it's so many room. Like, I'm not saying you don't have to post regularly because people want to see your work, but don't drive yourself crazy. Like, if you feel like you can just post when you need to post, which you seem to be, there is no consistent. I just happen to post every day because, as AJ was saying, I do my jump roping every day. I record it and then I post it. That's my schedule. On the weekends, if anybody follows me, you notice, look at my timestamps. I might post 1, maybe 2 on the weekend, if that. I don't post on the weekend usually.
It's actually really nice to hear from somebody who has as many followers as you do, to know that, like, you know, because it really, that's the feeling you get being on social media.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
being small fish like us. Like, I got about 2,600 followers. AJ's got what? You're up there 16, 17, somewhere up in there. And Ryan's got 300, I think.
We don't need to talk about mine.
Well, don't worry, Ryan.
okay.
Ryan, yo, I gotta make sure. Like, I'll write myself a note, and I'll make sure I follow. So now you have 301. So how about that?
Yes.
That works.
One guest at a time.
But we have fun, you know.
Right.
We have fun doing this. We have fun bringing people like yourself on here to highlight you and get you out there to share your stories and your books. And we hope that, you know, the longer we do this, the more people we can hopefully touch their lives with it. And your story might help somebody, one of our listeners, with something that they're going through or whatnot. You know, that's our goal. And to be goofy and to have fun. Because me, I'm a psychopath. So that's just, I'll do random voices and that's what I do. So
I'm telling you right now, I'm ready for the Power Rangers episode. So somewhere down the line, that's already got me hyped. So you're on. We just got to work out the schedule, but it's booked. Like, it's been decided.
Yes,
It's morphin' time. Let's go, baby. Like, I'm ready. I'm saying. Just whatever we do, I am not going to be the Black Ranger. That's all I got to say.
You can choose. You're the guest. So
I say go white. Go white Power Ranger, just like David James David Frank.
Right?
Said that
my
backwards.
God, man.
Jason David Frank.
Oh,
But-
man. I love it.
Well, guys, what do you think? That's about a wrap, yeah?
I think so.
I think that was an awesome episode.
Well, Jay, where can people find you on social media? Where would you like them to find you at?
Well, I would love to say I would like you to find me wherever it's comfortable and easiest for you, but that makes it harder for me. So what I will say is, I am most active on TikTok. I do have a Instagram. I have an author Facebook page. You can find me at I am Jay Reese. I also have a X, formerly known as Twitter. I am Jay Reese. So I'm in all those places. I am Jay Reese.
Roger. Well, thank you, sir, for coming on. It was a privilege and a pleasure. And for all our funky listeners out there, we've been your bearded nerdy hosts with our special guests. And until next time, funky fantasy, the bowl, Stratoceros, Jay Reese. It's the War of Nerds. See y'all next time.